everyone, it's Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. I'm here today for episode 11 of our flea market style traveler's notebook make-along. So if you're unfamiliar, you can find the playlist for this in my playlists. What we're doing here is making a traveler's notebook one page at a time, including the cover day by day. And I will keep all the videos in that playlist so that you can go back to them if you need to. So we are on the 9th page, I believe. Let's just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Yes, we are on the 9th page layout. So today's page layout is a college rule or lined paper. That is the basis for our page. That's what you'll need. And then the other thing you're going to need is like an old yearbook or an old book that has black and white pictures of people in it, or some printouts from the internet of some, just look for like 1960s yearbook pictures or something like that, or an era that applies to, whatever appeals to you. You could also end up using your own old yearbooks if you want to use them up. I know a lot of people don't feel the need to keep those kind of things forever, so this is a way to kind of use them. So how do we get started? Okay, so let's just go through the page. So the first page is first of all, I did a zigzag stitch all the way around it. I recommend putting red thread in your sewing machine and maybe light blue in your bobbin, just to kind of match the pink or red and blue lines on the college roll. I vintage photo inked around edges of the pages on both sides, and then I zigzag stitched. So the reason you need 2 pieces of paper is because we're making a pocket with one, and then all the ephemera is made from pieces of a yearbook, pretty much, maybe one book page. So first page is just a cutout and tear out, inked around, of a couple of, old pictures from a yearbook, just a couple of class photos. Then on the inside, we have this pocket here. And on the first side, I just took a picture that I enjoyed from an old yearbook. So the yearbook I'm using, let me grab it here, is this one. This is an Embers 1972 yearbook, and I've been pulling pages out of it. I forget where this is from, Kitchener, Ontario. So there's a lot of fun stuff in these books. So you can get these kind of yearbooks often at recycle centers, thrift stores sometimes, antique stores probably more likely, libraries sometimes. If you are you could scan them at a library if you wanted to, or sometimes they do clear them out. Sometimes you can get them at places like archives, that kind of thing. Maybe look at Facebook Marketplace. I see them most commonly at my recycle center type place, or like a used bookstore, a donation bookstore. Yeah, it might be a little harder to get, but you can also use, like I said, any kind of like a book that has photographs of black and white of people, or you can print them out online, definitely. So in this photo, I really love it because there's this girl, I love her glasses, and she's sitting there, and the guy behind her, he's just like, oh, why am I here in class? And then they're kind of telling a little secret, and then back here, this girl's gesticulating about something. So I just backed that actually with an old piece of paper that somebody had written on. And that's what goes in that pocket. And then this I am affectionately calling the Heartbreak Tag. But we're going to modify it. Don't pay attention to parts of this, okay? So what this is you find a picture of a couple. This one was from the same yearbook. And you're going to glue it down on the tag. Then we're going to cut the tag in half, and we're going to zigzag stitch it back together. So it's the tumultuous Heartbreak Tag. Ignore the back of this one. I decided to gesso and ink this one, but I'm actually going to back the new one with paper just because I think it'll look more like I want it to. I forgot that I had backed this on a black paper, and I would have preferred white. But I'm still happy with the tag, and I like the texture of it, but I think the one we make will be a little nicer. Then the back, we're going to make what I call a proof image. So for a yearbook. And I'm also going to use up some old cereal box. So if you have some cardstock or old cereal box, old packaging, I definitely recommend you use like an old box, old cracker box, whatever. Just, you know, your standard cereal box weight. This is from Fruit Loops. Your cereal box weight. So what I wanted to do is create something that was like a Polaroid, but not exactly, like maybe a bigger one or something. So kind of a frame that has more space at the bottom than at the top. And then I added a yearbook photo here. This is one of those photos of like somebody, you know, in a club or something, right? And then I took, this isn't Nancy, this is somebody else, but I took one of the, usually the graduating classes in yearbooks have the little write-up, like, you know, what were their clubs, what are the quotes. This Nancy Grandison, the quote she chose was a George Harrison one. The time will come when you see we're all one and life flows on within you and without you. And then I used my little stamp alphabet here. You can get these on Amazon. I think they might be Recollections or We Are Memory Keepers possibly. I can't remember, but if you just look on Amazon for alphabet stamp, you'll find it. And they're clickable, so they click together, and I just use the word proof because like a photo proof, like this would have to get approved to go into the yearbook. And then backed it with some journaling paper. I did stitch around both the photo and the edges, and then just paper clipped it on. So let's jump into making this, okay? So I'll just put my prototype back here and get my journal out of the way. As always, I have selected a few things to get me started. And we're going to work in the journal that we're making together, this one. So I'll set all those pages aside. So first things first is just go ahead and, you know, measure your page. Make sure that it will fit inside your journal. I'm using a journal size that probably it will, but we're getting a little close. So you know what, I think I will trim a little bit. So what I'm going to do, this will be, these two pages will go together. So I'm just going to fold them together so that they're the same, maybe. There we go. Relatively the same. It's hard to fold two of these together when they weren't both straight. I'm tempted to use the other straight one to just get a straight line, but then that would be cheating. Okay. There we go. So I'm just going to trim a little off the edge here, just like maybe this. And then I know it's going to cozy up a little bit better inside the journal without any drama. So altogether you need three pieces of lined paper. So let's set one of them aside, and now we have these two. So now take one of them and fold it in half the other direction. Like this. Okay. So we're going to fill in those holes. You see it fills the holes in. So now what I want to do is create a pocket like this. So if you don't have a sewing machine, that's okay. You can glue your pocket on the three sides. I'm just going to take a quick break to go do some stitching. I'm going to stitch around the outside, all four corners, to all four corners. Last time I did a zigzag stitch. This time I'm going to do a straight stitch. I will be right back. Okay, so I've stitched around all four edges. Now, what I want to do is I want to just ink the edges of the pocket and then all around the page. Both sides. Okay, so now let's work on the first page. So fold this back in half. Then we're going to get our yearbook here and find a couple of people that we find interesting or fun. I think I'll go with these two guys. So then I'm just going to tear this out. And I'm going to leave the messy torn edge there. I quite like how that looks. So then we're just going to ink around it. Get my glue book here. So I'm not making you do any paper bag origami like yesterday, I promise. Hopefully that wasn't too challenging for anyone. Okay, so now you take your photo and just stick it down here. It's already looking more eclectic and fun. Okay, so now we will do the inside pages. So the first thing I did was, like I'd mentioned before, find something in a yearbook or in a black and white photo that you find fun and eclectic. I think these girls dressed kind of like as clowns with those cute, remember these beaded, like those 2 beads on those little hair elastics we used to wear? And they have balloons, so it looks like they're part of some kind of a school party. So that's what needs to go in this pocket over here. Now it's a little bit wide, so I'm just going to tear it down ever so slightly from the top. And that should fit better. Yeah. All right, now let's back this. So I just have some old like book pages here. I'm just going to go ahead and glue that. So I want to stitch around the edges of these, but I'm going to do it last. So we'll just get them all ready, everything ready, and then we'll do the stitching afterward. Maybe when we work on the very back piece, I'll do all the stitching. Or actually the breakup tag. Let's do it during the breakup tag, because that's the slightly more complicated one. I'll explain though. Okay, so with this one, I recommend just doing a straight stitch right around the edges. If you're not sewing, that's fine. You're done if you're not sewing. Okay, so now it is actually time to make the breakup tag. So how do we make a breakup tag? Well, get a piece of paper, any piece of paper. I'm going to go with this one. I'm using up book pages from a book that I cut up. And then again, you want to measure it to something that will fit in your pocket. Just going to eyeball it. And then just double check, make sure it fits. Then we're going to cover it in glue. Okay. Actually glue that inside together so that it's not jumping around. Now I'm going to take an old book page here, just right from my glue book actually, and just glue that on. And then just cut around it. Okay. Now you need to find an image of a couple that's going to fit on your tag. So their bodies primarily need to be able to fit on there, okay? But the next thing that we need to do first is, this is the stage where we're going to cover the back with paper. This is what I forgot to do with the prototype, but I'm going to do it this time. Just make sure that that's blank. It is. Okay. So go ahead and glue that down. Then let's add some glue to the bottom half of the tag. About, as high as your picture, essentially. Then place it on there, make sure you get like the main parts of their body on there so that they both make sense when you cut the edge off. Okay. So now we will cut around our tag. I probably could have done this one at a time so it'd be easier to see, but I can see in the shadow of the light that where to cut. Okay. Scraps out of here. All right, so here we go. Now let's make this into a tag shape. Okay. All right, so we're all backed. Now this is the fun part. So this couple, you know, they were together since grade 9. Things were great. And then everything just kind of went awry and got a little bit bumpy. It's high school. What do you expect, right? So unfortunately, we're going to zigzag, cut them in half, because this is a rocky patch we're going through here. Okay, so just like that. Now, what I recommend you do is you're going to go to your sewing machine. You want to keep about a gap like this. Then use your zigzag stitch, set it to the widest setting that you have so that the stitches are farther apart. So just kind of, you know, when you get started, see where your needle's going to go down, see how far it goes. If it doesn't reach, go up a little bit. Just go to the max width that you have. Usually on most sewing machines, it's like 5.0, like 5 centimeters. No, I don't know. Whatever 5 is. It's the highest on my machine. And you're just going to look to have your needle go, you know, from here to here to here to here. And then you can turn at the end and go back up if you feel like things are still kind of like falling apart. Don't worry if it gets a little off center because, or jaggedy, because you'll see here, mine did. Like, see, it doesn't line up completely right there, and it's totally still effective. It's still fun. There's a gap there that you can see, and you know, clearly you see that it's a breakup tag, right? So don't worry. So let's go do the stitching on this and on this, and I will be right back. Okay, we have finished the stitching, so here we go. So see, it's just messy stitches. I did go one way and then the other. Okay, and then I stitched around this as well. So we can put these in here. 1 and 2. And now we're going to get on to making our sort of faux Polaroid proof picture for our like yearbook editor here. Okay, so the picture that I chose this time is another lovely woman at her desk. Love her glasses. So now we're going to cut down some cardboard box using my guillotine. Now this has been cut really crookedly for some reason here. So let me just get a straight edge. There we go. So now put her on there. And you want to leave a bit of space on either side of her. Your photo. And then you want more space at the bottom than at the top. So right about there. Okay. Get rid of this big guillotine. Okay, so now we need another page of our college roll paper. We'll just glue this up with glue stick. And don't worry if you can see through it. We're going to be masking all that. And then glue the other side. And just fold it over. And we'll cut it out here. And you know, I didn't do this with the other one, but I think with this one, I might round the corners just because I think that might look nice. There we go. Okay, so now we have this. So now I'm going to, do I want to round the corners on this as well? No, I'm not going to round the corners on that. Okay, so now I'm just going to glue this down. Okay, now I'm going to do my stitching. This is the last of the stitching. So I'm just going to stitch around this and then around the photo, leaving a little bit of a border for both. I'm using single stitch and I'll be right back. Okay, so now we have done our stitching around. So now we need to add some writing paper on the back of this, just to cover up the stitching really. And I'm just going to grab another old book page and just kind of line it up so it's going to sit inside that spot. And the stitching. I just realized I said single stitch. As someone who does too many kinds of stitching related things, I meant straight stitch on my sewing machine. This is a straight stitch. Paper that my children have drawn on. We try to use everything up here. Okay, so now we cover up that inside stitching. And then it's time to do some inking. So I'm just going to ink around the edges on both sides. I'll probably just add a little ink to the front here as well. All right, there we go. Now it's time to turn this into a, well, actually, no, let's not do that first. We have to find a little story for her. Who do we want to make her? Okay, let's make her Janice Warren. This is the real Janice Warren, but we're going to take her story because she is a torch representative, musician. She's in music class. And I like her little quote she chose, or I guess it's her own quote because she doesn't quote anyone. So she says, "We are children of the universe, no less than the trees or the stars. We have a right to be here, so we must strive to make our lives happy." Some good way of thinking. Okay, so just ink around that a little bit, and we will glue this on. Just gonna pop it right down here. There we go. So now it's time to get this finished. All we got to do is add our proof stamp. So, proof. Whoops. There we go. Put that back together because I'm bound to need it to make a couple more of these. Alrighty, so now we have added that. So now all we need to do is to clip it onto our page. And okay, these ones are stuck together. And I have a little visitor here. Okay. Did you have a good time? Had a good bath?
I was with Toasty. Mm-hmm. Toasty was with me in the bath.
Toasty was with you in the bath. Well, the doggy had a bath with you. Nice.
Detail.
Okay, so now we will just clip this on the back here. And there we go. We are finished our whole page. Now, the other thing that you could do, which I might do now actually, I have all of these little leftovers, right? And we just have these 2 blank pockets. So I think I might just take a couple of these and cut them out, ink around them, and just glue them on to the edges of our pages here. Like maybe put one here. Just a moment, please. And then we'll grab these ones from this page here. Oh, there's a Saint Bernard. It's Tom Terrific and his Wonder Dog. I just love the way old yearbooks were put together. They're so cute. This one says, with eyes like mine, how can you ignore me? Because they're all pouting. Okay, so we'll just cut those out. And then we're going to ink around. Sorry for any background noise. I have a little visitor, but I'm just going to bear with it because we're almost done. We're almost done. Oh, there she goes. They just had a bath because they had spaghetti for lunch, and spaghetti equals an instant bath. At least in this house. Okay, so let's add our folks on here. Okay, yeah, I like that. I like having that extra little bit there. Okay, so that's our page for today. So hopefully you enjoyed this and you didn't find it too hard to find this kind of material. I'm trying to keep this as domestic as I can to the things that I think that journal makers will have. I know not everyone has access to this. Another thing you might want to look in are newspapers, because newspapers run stories all the time with people, right? So yeah, but just look at, for vintage documents and things like that. Or as always, the internet is there for you. You can print off yearbook pages on the internet, or dig up your old yearbooks, because there's got to be a page, at least one, where there's just someone that you don't like. So use that page. Make them the subject of the breakup. Who knows? But anyways, thank you so much. I am so happy to be here with you, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.